Okay.
Be me. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Great to see everybody. Thanks for carving out some time on a Thursday. It's Thursday. Is it Thursday? Yes. Yeah. Oh, great. I lose track sometimes. So, Addie, thanks for the opportunity. It's been awesome working with Addie in the Center for Teaching Excellence. Let's get to it. This last installment is creating your own GPT TA. So what could we do in that respect? So I'm going to give you, I debated whether or not driving this kind of by hand. I think this is definitely probably the better way. I can pass out the slides at the end so you can kind of use them as a reference. Also, you won't see, there's a lot of typing, and if there's image generation, you got to wait for image generation. So I think this will be a lot smoother, but we'll find out. So on the agenda here, we already did a little introduction, except I always forget to introduce myself. So I'm Vivin Sadler. It's great to see everybody again, and for the first time, awesome.
Ignore the
If,
work, starting to work.
If I haven't met before, but hope I'll see you at graduation or around campus. But I'm Vivin Sadler. I actually graduated PhD in statistics in 2014 when our Master's of Science and Data Science program started in 2014, and I've been working in that program ever since. We have a new Department of Statistics and Data Science. It is now has a home in that department, and we're rocking. So a lot of what I do is online. So you're going to see some online examples, but I think there'll be plenty of overlap for you to, our course is housed on Canvas. Anyway, I think you'll see the pieces that could be relevant, or that you could adapt to make your own, that you could do something new. Well, it's going to give some tools today, and online too. Great to see everybody out there. So we're going to train on the syllabi, train on homework, and train on class transcripts. So think about how how that might fit into your class. But there's lots of other information out there, right? It's a brand new world we live in. So think outside the box. What other information could you give this thing? I think one day, kind of next steps at the end, one day it'll be actually, if not now, instead of just getting the transcripts, it'll be able to watch the video and get the audio. So it's as if, a lot of times if I'm talking about a histogram and pointing to it or doing an equation saying, look here, that's not going to come through on a transcript. So think about those things as we move forward, and that's what we'll do in the what's next part. All right, so let's get to it. I think we're all familiar with this page. This is, you can see in the top right, top left corner, GPT-4. So that's where we'll be working in, but it's evolved a little bit over the last year plus. GPT-3, GPT 3.5, it was awesome, right? It was just mind blowing. But looking back, it was kind of primitive compared to what we have now. Just amazing what it was able to do. Monty McGee and I, who's a professor in the stat department, you may know, we're working on vetting 3.5 and 4 on different stat tests, different standardized stat tests, including the AP test for equity issues, 3.5 versus 4. But it's really highlighted how far 4 has come since 3 and 3.5. So anyhow, we're in here with 4. Used to have add-ins. If you remember add-ins, it was early, kind of this time last year. It was great. I was like, great, you can look at URLs. People are writing these things to customize it. They've gotten rid of the add-ins, and now they have people are building their own GPTs. They're training their own GPTs, and now you have the opportunity to train your own. So people are out there selling them. If you invent one, you can put it on the marketplace and sell it yourself. So, all right.
Excuse me.
Yes.
There was a question on there. If we have access to chat GPT-4. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, no, not currently.
So yeah, you pointed out the big kind of elephant in the room here is, in fact, I just hid that slide right before we started. But GPT-4 is $20 a month. I've had it for a while. I mean, I think it's well worth it, but this will kind of be an advertisement. A lot of the stuff you can't do in 3.5. Yeah.
If you want GPT-4 for free, it's go to Bing, and under Bing search, if you select the creative, it's got like strict, whatever, and creative. If you select that, you can access exactly GPT-4.
Do you mind repeating that for closer to it?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Bing search on creative settings. You have to have a Microsoft account.
Okay.
Get a Microsoft account. Bing
Bing search.
search,
And then you click the creative.
click the creative.
Yes.
Yeah, SMU offers a basic account of Microsoft Copilot, but it will be, it's not the advanced option, but it is the basic version. The benefit of using the Microsoft Copilot that SMU has is that the information they put in, it's kept private, right? Like with the other tools, whatever you input into the system becomes part of the system, I guess they have. This one will be not.
We'll talk a little bit about the privacy issue today. It's a well-hidden little radio button, but it's there. So cool. And I'll try to put that information about how to get GPT-4, how to put that in the slide deck. I'll make a little slide for it and learn a little bit about myself. Okay, so let's just see what this can do, assuming that we have GPT-4. Great. So checking it out, explore GPTs. It's kind of subtle here, but explore GPTs is what you want to click on. And if you click on that, then you'll get this page. And this is what you see today. It evolves kind of monthly, but maybe weekly and sometimes daily. But this is what you see today. And these are all different GPTs that different people or companies or organizations have designed. And we'll talk a little bit about them. Notice you can create your own, and you've got access to the ones that you've created before. So we'll explore all of those. Here are some of the ones. You'll see different categories of them. So these are the ones that are trending. Image generator, Write for Me, Consensus Scholar. Like you name it, if somebody's written something around it. And maybe that's not even true. Maybe something you can think of right now. I wonder, maybe that hasn't been created yet. It's so new. Maybe that's something for you to develop and contribute to the community. So it shows who's been writing them underneath there. This is the one from, you can see up here, it says what GPT, and eventually you'll see ours in there in a second. That is image generator. And I'm sure, I don't know if we've all generated images. I'm generating a ton. Every time I do a PowerPoint presentation, I'm like, I really need an image that does this, and I'll just create one. But it's a really kind of fun exercise, as we'll see here in prompt engineering, to get it. Because John Wooden, back in the day, I love all of his quotes, UCLA basketball coach, one of his great quotes is make each day your masterpiece. So I was teaching some high school students. I wanted to give that to them, but it really has a terrible time spelling. Like it just has a hard time with it. So, and it's always fun. Like, gives me this great thing. And then I'm like, all right, can you generate an image that has vibrant colors and says, make each day your masterpiece? It's like, I have a problem with spelling too. Try to get rid of all those. But so it says, okay, didn't do it. So I said, can you try again? And it says, make each day it tries, right? And so then you put it on there. And then I said, can you focus on spelling masterpiece correctly? And then it says, yeah, I did that, but now it's make each May's masterpiece. So it kind of loses focus. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And this is the image generator, right? This is the supposed to be the enhanced app. So they're just not, all this to say they're not perfect out there. And I don't know that they have to be. They're just tools. So DALL-E obviously is one of the most popular and powerful, and really that image generator was built on top of that. But that's what I ended up using, and I eventually got this. So just kept working with it, and you can keep working with it, and eventually it'll come up with something really cool that maybe it'll work. So cool. So this was another one. I'll go back a little bit. This was research and analysis. So these are ranked by most popular. So if you're doing research, you want to see if it can help you with a lit review or something like that. Consensus is the top one. You can see it's got ratings in there and stuff. And see your graduation.
I have a question.
Yes.
Knowing not much about any of this. All of this is under Chat GPT.
This is all GPT-4.
All of that. So the different names are all under the
It's 100%. Yeah.
Okay.
You got GPT-4. You have access to all of it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
is it 3.5 also this, or is 3.5?
3.5. I don't believe 3.5 has any. It's just the free version that you can ask it questions, and but you can't build your own GPT. This is all on top of that. So great. So let's go back. This is basically the same one you saw earlier. This is the home page. We're in Explore GPTs. Now, though, we would like to create one. Let's create our own. Let's get out there and put our own ideas out there. So, all right, this is what I added about 2 seconds before class. And I was like, I have to get that in there. Thanks for slipping it in there. Yeah, I took this picture about an hour ago. It's like, oh yeah, I have this mug. So, my father-in-law gave me this mug, but maybe this is something we still come across, but get a lot of questions from students. When's the exam? How much is this worth? How much is that worth? And it can take a lot of bandwidth from you. It can take a lot of bandwidth from your TAs. And that's really been the whole focus of the semester working with CTE is how can we not use GPT as a competitor, but as a collaborator? How can it enable us to do more? So on here, that's going to be the first thing. First, we're going to look at syllabi. How can we just create something general? We can just ask it open-ended questions and return the answer. So this is what you see. So when you click on this create button, this thing comes up. It says, I mean, it's a little scary, but I like conversing with GPT. It's got a lot of exclamation marks. I like exclamation marks. So, hi, exclamation mark. I'll help you build a GPT. You could say something like make a creative who helps generate visuals for new products. Gives you some examples there. I know I came in and knew what I wanted to do. So I simply said, oops, I guess I put it in here. I said this. So this is where you put your kind of first prompt. I'll just go ahead and introduce this on the left side, on your left, is that's the create, that's where you're training. You can think of this, and how I think of it is you're actually talking to your TA. When you have a new TA, they don't know what to do. So you're telling, okay, here's some homework solutions. Here's the syllabi. We'll talk about homework later. Don't tell them the answer. Just give them a hint. If you don't tell them that, they may just say, here's the answer. You never know. So this is where you're talking to your to your TA. You're talking to the GPT, but this is where you're giving instructions on how you want different resources used. You're giving it the resources. We'll see here in a second with this paper clip down here. And you're setting up the guardrails and the AI talk, but you're just talking to your TA, giving them some direction. And it's a process, right? You're like, oh, I forgot to tell you that. Well, you can always just come back in here and tell it something else. It's not a one-stop shop. It knows it's iterative. So, all right.
I'm scared.
So great. So I said, I would like to make a GPT that acts like a teaching assistant for a statistics course. I would like to give it the syllabus to equip the GPT with the information to address students' questions. It's my starting point. That's what I wanted to do. We'll see if that's enough. So it comes back and says, great, let's define the GPT. It's a statistics course. So, it's powered by GPT-4. So it comes to, you want to talk about p-values and how to interpret correlations. And yeah. Like that's really great. Like you've been trained, you've been trained on a lot of the internet, including Stack Overflow and these big resources. Yeah, I do want that. And I want some other stuff. So in this sense, it's a really nice TA that really has had a lot of stats courses and is now waiting to have you customize it and tell him or her what to do. So what do we have? A welcome message. Hello, I'm here to help you with the. Oh, it wants to. So the first thing it's going to want to do is have you name it. So it just comes up with a name, Stat Helper. I was like, okay, could do something maybe a little bit better. So I said, let's call it Ask Peruna. So I'm like, all right, let's make it topical. So okay, great, Ask Peruna. And so it comes up this. So let's call it Ask Peruna. This is what comes up, and it was actually quite scary because before I came up with Ask Peruna, I was thinking about an owl. I was like, I want to make an animal. An owl's wise. And then I hit, let's call it Peruna. And then it came up with this owl. And I was like, did I tell it an owl? Like it feels like it was reading my mind. It's just a big coincidence, I think. But regardless, I didn't want the owl. So I said, Peruna is a pony, just showing the conversation here. Peruna is a pony, so it comes up with that. Like, okay, cool. I said, that's nice. I said, I like it. But can you give me one more to choose from? Can you try again? Whatever. So it gives me that. I said, okay, all right, let's try one more time. And then but I'm evolving too. I'm like, you know what? It's got all these cool colors. We're SMU, we've got a lot of blue, a lot of red, a lot of white. So I eventually came up with this. So this is the one I landed on. There's no more, but this is Ask Peruna. It's very friendly, hopefully very welcoming. And I said, it's great. Awesome. So let's continue. So it's going to put the icon there, It's got new GPT up there. So then it says, fantastic. now that we have the profile picture set, ask Peruna. Let's refine the context, make sure it aligns perfectly with its role as a teaching assistant. What specific topics should Ask Peruna be able to cover? For example, should it focus on basic statistic concepts, statistics testing, regression analysis, etc.? I said, yeah, that all sounds good. It's a stats TA. I love it. So I said, yes, all of that, but it should also answer questions from the syllabus. These questions should include test dates, test format. You can imagine all the things you want to get from the syllabus. But being specific here, if you leave something out and you're like, oh, I forgot that, it's inevitably going to happen. This is where you're talking to your TA. You just go back and put it in here, and you can eventually we'll create it, but eventually this will say update, and you can just update. All right, so we're having fun. So it says, okay, and I love it. It's the same thing as your TA going, okay, now let me get this straight. Let me roll this down. Everything you just told me, is this what you want? So it's the role and goal, the guidelines, clarification, personalization. And a lot of these things, it's looked back and seen other people have asked for TAs, have asked for these things. So it's just giving I didn't ask for those specifically, I didn't tell it to be personal. But it's just assuming that I want to do that. It's a good assumption. So great. So now I'm over here. This is your preview. I think they used to call it the playground or a sandbox. But this is saying now that, it's not public yet, nobody can see it, but how's it going to act like student view? So this is you talking to the TA, and this over here is you trying it out, pretending you're a student. So a student might ask, hi, Ask Peruna, can you tell me the date of the midterm? Of course, I haven't told it the date of the midterm. I haven't given it the syllabus. I haven't done anything with the question mark. So it tries its best. Hello, to provide you with a specific time and date of the midterm, I'll need to know which course you're asking about. Please provide the course title or code. Just needs more information. So I put that in there just to hopefully show, which it will show, that it's reading it, that it's learning it, that it's actually ingesting this information. So I said, okay, do you need the syllabus? Could have probably just assumed that it did, but I said, I always think that's interesting when I just kind of talk to it. It says, yes, uploading the syllabus would be very helpful. So I go ahead and want to show the syllabus before I get it here. This is part of my syllabus. So in the syllabus, I have this table. It's got the midterm date and the final exam date. It's a 4 or 5 page syllabus. Every year it gets a little bit longer because something happens that my department chair asked, well, was it in the syllabus? I said, no, I didn't. Anyway, we know how our syllabi get longer. So anyway, but these are pretty common. Those have been in there for a long time. So great. So this is what we looked at before. This is just back to that page. I want to click on that little paperclip there, and I'm just going to upload the syllabus so it can see it. Simple as that. So we get in there. Just says right here, here's my syllabi. I've got, like I said, a bunch of different versions. Pick my top version, PDF form, and send it in. So just walking straight through it, and we'll go ahead and submit it. So now I clicked on the attach. I've attached the syllabi. I said, I like to do this. I think it could probably figure it out. I would recommend just being overly explicit and say, this is the syllabus, just so it kind of matches that up. So good. So I did. Thank you for uploading the syllabus for the course. I'll ensure that Ask Peruna can reference this document to answer all related questions. Now that we have the syllabus incorporated, you can start interacting with it, yada, yada, yada. So let's see now. So now I ask, hi, Ask Peruna, can you tell me the date and time of the midterm? Same question, but now I've met with my TA and actually gave him or her or GPT the references it needs. And now it can figure out that it's Saturday, March 2nd, 2024, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time.
There's a question, is there a limit how big documents are that the person can upload, or can somebody put a book manuscript?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I wish I knew. I imagine that you can't just upload a whole book, but yeah. Like everything what I do with ChatGPT, I just try it. Yeah. So best thing you can do is just try it and see what happens. You can search the internet. I don't know the answer to that question. But
so is has there any specific format so you can use Word file?
That one too. I think I've uploaded Word here. I think at one time a PDF was required, so I just use PDFs now. So like I said, it changes all the time, but I know PDFs work. So you could try that one, but again, like you upload it and sometimes it says no, or sometimes it doesn't work well and you just try a different format and load it in there.
Simple syllabus.
What's that?
Simple syllabus
Yeah.
can work. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
Once you upload this information, can anybody access it?
great question. I'll get there. So yeah, you can, there'll be a specific slide for that. You can choose is the short answer. So, it's just like a box file. You can give somebody the link. You can make it public so that you don't need the link. It's just viewable out there. And you can be specific with who you give the link to. It's not like Boxer where you can just put in email addresses and say only these people can see it. So I think that's the private public. You can have it so only you can see it. You can have it so that people with the link can see it, and you can have it so that anybody can see it if they search for it. Those are your options, but I'll have a slide for that. So I said, okay, how about the final exam? Because those will be some normal questions. So if you look on there, yep, and actually in 2 weeks, we've got the final exam, April 20th, 2024, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Maybe that in and of itself is a big use for this technology here, is just to answer questions from the syllabus. We'll see a few more that,
Webinars.
You wanna go now?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, thanks. I thought we had
I muted.
thought we had a live question.
I don't think it was a question.
Okay.
I reviewed it.
We'll fire in the questions in chat and Abby will send them over to me or just announce them. So great. So just some other questions. Oh, is that to me? I need to speak loud.
Oh, no, this is for you guys. Like I was asking them if they can hear the audience. So I'm trying to repeat the questions on the chat for them here. They can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, I'll repeat the question if that helps.
Yeah.
If I can remember it. So, so another one, how much of the grade in the course is the midterm worth? So in there, like it just blows me away what this thing can do, right? It's just a table. That's the only place I have this information in there is on this table, and it just reads the table. It's amazing what it can do now with statistical plots and histograms and you know, your particular domain inevitably has the visualizations, like try it out. But again, seemingly very simple, but it's able to match that up. So, so midterms were 25%. So it comes back in and says, yep, it's worth 25%. So awesome. Whoops. So it can do that kind of stuff. If you can see around that, can you tell me the minimum grade needed to earn a B, right? Somebody's just trying to shoot low or high or in the middle, wherever they are. They know what they're aiming for. And this is the only place for that information. This one super blows me away is, you know, we've got the square bracket and the parentheses, and it interprets that correctly to say, yeah, an 83 is included, and you can get all the way up to as close to an 88 as you want, still get a B. So 83 to 87.999%. Figured that out on its own. It's crazy. So awesome. So those are some things that it can do if you just train it on the syllabus. Great. Where did I go? Oh, I did have one more. Okay, so I have a 4 live session assignment, so it can do things more than just look up numbers. It can be a little more qualitative. I have this assignment that actually this was the whole focus of the last talk, was this kind of reverse classroom idea, but where you give them a lot to do before class, and then you discuss it in class. So it's a cornerstone of how I teach these online courses. I think it could be done inside of a normal classroom, but regardless, it's always a good question, and it's very different than what other students do. It's graded on correctness or completeness. Sorry, it's graded on completeness, not correctness. So they study what's thought to be brand new material. Then they try it out and they step in it and they make mistakes and they're asking questions and they identify questions and they write them all down before class. I get them, I respond to them, I know what it is so I can customize the actual valuable hour and a half that we have, rather than trying to figure out what the questions are in an hour and a half and then not have time to answer. So we do all that on the front end, but it's very foreign a lot of times because everyone thinks they need to get it correct. And it gets really super frustrating for me because they're like, how are we supposed to figure all this out? So anyhow, it's all in the syllabus. So somebody might ask but who's gonna read all that? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So they might just say, they get some faith in the GPT, say, I'll just ask GPT, does this thing need to be graded on correctness? Does it need to be on the can you just tell me a little more open-ended? Can you tell me about the 4 live session? So here it is. It is not expected that students have the correct answers. The expectation is that student spends the allotted amount of time on each activity so we can discuss the details in live session. Talks about a lot more about these questions. So that's what they would know. So they might say, do I have to get everything correct on the 4 live session assignment to get full credit? Might be the question. The pool point here is there's a lot of output. No, you do not need to get everything correct for the 4 live session assignment to get full credit in the DS 6371 course. That's a little misleading to me. They just asked about that assignment, not about the whole course. So that's where I said, oh, maybe I need to be a little more specific with my TA. Maybe they don't understand what I'm trying to say here. So you go back over here and you say, okay, if the student asks about grading for the 4 live session assignment, please include that correctness is not required to get full credit for the FLS assignment, yada, yada, yada. Everything I just told you. I was just saying, hey, it's about the assignment, not about the whole general course. So then I ask again, just the same question, do I have to get everything correct on the FLS to get full credit? And then it comes back with something a little better. Again, don't expect this thing to be perfect, and I could do a lot more prompt engineering, but it does say for the live session assignment in the DS 6371 course, you're not required to get everything correct to receive full credit. So kind of read it. The lawyer would read it. Now it's talking about the FLS. Whole point being there, you can retrain. Okay, so what else can we do? Oh, is that where I was? Yeah. Now this one freaked me out. I wanted to share with everybody, just in case it freaks you out. See, notice up here, it's really subtle. I accidentally hit that, and I meant to hit the one underneath it. That's the browser back. And when you hit the browser back on these things, we spent a lot of time working on this now. It goes back to that. And I'm like, oh, did I save it? What's going on? So I was like, I don't know. So I go back to my GPTs, and sure enough, thank goodness it's all there. So breathe a sigh of relief. It's being saved behind the scenes as you would expect it to, but still, there's some uncertainty there. So you just click on that again, boom, and it takes you back into here, but everything, your kind of history has been deleted. I don't know if you can go back and get that or not, but regardless, it's saying, hey, let's just pick up where we left off. So all that time we were in create, you do need to go over here to configure to get it to work. And I've made that mistake before. I was trying to demo this a couple months ago. It's like, why isn't this thing working? You have to go actually to the configure side. And here's where you give it its name. So far it's been non-name. Yeah, new GPT.
I'm sure you'll get to that, how to share with students, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yep. How to get, yeah.
That was one of the
What would be the
questions
point,
in chat.
right?
Yeah, that was a question in
Exactly.
the
It's a
chat.
great question. Because sometimes I miss those really important, obvious questions. But yes, how to deploy this to your class is coming up. Similar question to what, and then who are you deploying it to? So, so great. But to configure, that's where you give it the name. That's where you give it the description. You'll see where those come up. When somebody searches for this, we saw those earlier. It had the name and it had the description of what it was doing underneath. That's where it's coming with the description. Those instructions. This, I think, is evolving because when you put all those things we put in the create side, those usually show up in here. Those are the instructions. So when you're telling it, hey, that grade is about the FLS, not about the whole course. Or you're telling it, hey, here, look at this syllabus. All of that are the instructions. So if you want to add additional instructions, that's going to give the guardrails around it. Conversation starters. I meant to show that alert. When you bring up a GPT and it has those little 4 at the bottom, we'll see those in a minute. It says, here's some sample prompts. So, like for the image generator, it's saying, a sample conversation starter would be, can you generate a picture of flowers? Can you generate a picture of some shoes or something like that? And you just click on it and it shows you how it can be used. So we're going to add some of these conversation starters here in a second, but here's the knowledge. So far it has the syllabi. Notice it's got down here at the bottom, capabilities, web browsing, DALL-E. I do want it to have that, but I don't know if this is on purpose or not. I imagine, if I'm being pessimistic, it is, because this is what you see on the page. If you scroll down, before you, let's keep going. You got to really scroll down, but here are my conversation starters. When is the midterm? Can you tell me information about the oral exam? What grade do I need to get an A? Those are some things that you can show your user that may have no idea how to even use this thing. Those are some examples of how you would use it, and they can spawn off of that. And those will be available to them when they open the GPT. But if you keep going, at the very bottom, that's hidden too when you get there. It says additional settings. And I was like, oh, I wonder what additional settings it is. This is where it says use conversation data in your GPT to improve our models. That's where it's saying, can we take your data? And it's by default checked. So beware of that. I unchecked it. So you have to opt out of giving all the data to OpenAI or whoever's looking at it. And it's at the very bottom, and you may not see it. It's under additional settings. Okay, so next up.
We have a couple of questions from the chat. Well, one question, and there's an answer about the document size. He asked ChatGPT, and he said that the hard limit is 512 megabytes per file. Text and document files capped at 2 million tokens per file. Images limited to 2 megabytes per image, and there's more information that the person asked for ChatGPT. And then the other question is, what if students ask a question about the course that is not in the syllabus? How does ChatGPT distinguish between some and does no, as it in the syllabus, and what it thinks like it's the case it informs students about it?
Yeah, so that is a potential concern because you don't want it to hallucinate and make something up, right? So fortunately, I don't have a workaround for that. That would be the same as your student going up to your TA and saying, hey, when is the second midterm? And instead of them saying there's only one midterm in a final, them saying, oh, it's on, March 4th or something like that. It's like, and so then the student, and sometimes TAs make mistakes. Sometimes TAs give out wrong information. So that's very much the same here. I imagine the student goes back to the professor and says, hey, I got this information. Hopefully they double check it that way. So there are some concerns. You definitely want to have that. I would play around with it on this side as much as you can to try to iron those out, just like you would with your TA, just to make sure that they've got the information. But that is certainly a concern. So, yeah.
If you already, for instance, created the zigzag sort of like addressing some, can you go back then after you generated the whole chat GPT, like Peruna, and can you go back and improve?
Oh, you want me to go back? Or you're saying, can I go back? Oh, okay.
Asking, yes, if it's possible, like
Okay.
when I,
Tell
for
me that
instance, I made something, I created something, and then I want to modify
Mm-hmm.
after I say, see.
Yeah, no, you can undo it. Yeah. So the question is, say that you said, well, you want to change the midterm date, something simple, like
Or change syllables or
Yeah.
change syllabi,
Attach another file.
just
like a
attach the
data
syllabi.
file, Yeah.
so it can be done.
You just attach the syllabi, but you're definitely going to, so the question is, let's say that you want to undo something, or let's say for an example, you want to change the whole syllabi. Let's say I want to get rid of my 4 live session assignment strategy, change the whole paradigm of the course. Then you would write a new syllabi. If I was going to go that big, I'd probably just remake my GPT. I would just start over, just there's no remnants in there. But if you want to, if you've got a lot built around that and you want to re-update the syllabi, just stay over here for a while and make sure that you've kind of double checked that, and definitely tell your students that that's what you've done.
It wouldn't store that information if you uploaded another syllabus and told it to use the new one. It wouldn't get confused.
That's what we're saying. Yeah, I don't.
The other information is there.
I think if you prompt engineered it well enough and said, forget all of this and do something else. Again, I personally would just start over from a clean slate, because you never know what's bouncing around. In making this presentation, a lot of these outputs that you've seen here, not yet, but coming up, a lot of them, if you run it again and run it again and run it again, it'll give you the same information. It was kind of nice, but it gives you very different. It's not just changing one word; it's changing the whole, paragraph structure of how it's coming. So, and sometimes it's pulling in information that I wanted, that I thought it would pull in. Sometimes it's pulling in different information. You'll see kind of what I'm talking about here, because we're going to bring in homework solutions, and we're going to bring in transcripts from video class, from class videos. So how long do we have?
20 more minutes.
20 minutes, great. That should be good. So, okay.
Well,
So
technically 10, but there's not a class here that ends at 2. It's like, it's for 2:50. That's
cool.
what we told the session, and
You
it's
did say 250. If you got to run
But if,
250.
yes, if you can get around, great, but technically we don't have to get out of here at
Okay.
2:50 because there's not a class
But I
until.
imagine somebody's class probably starts at 3 or
True,
something.
yeah.
So if you got to get up, I totally understand. But I will try to get to those pieces. So the whole point here is now we put it all in there, but it's all local to us, or well, it's not local, but now we're the only people that can see it's not deployed yet. So now you hit create and it goes and creates it. Here comes the answer to that previous question. Sure, if I'm missing, there we go. So only me, anyone with a link, and publish to GPT store. Those are your options for visibility. It'd be nice if you could just put in all the emails of your class and said only these people. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way, just give the link. The only people you give the link to are the people in your class. If they choose to give it to somebody else, then they can use it. But if they want to read our syllabus, maybe they'll take our class next semester. Yeah.
You put the link, do they still need the GPT account?
That's the other elephant in the room, is that they also have to have GPT-4. So I require all of my students to buy, it's like a textbook. So I require them to, my textbook's free. So, but they do have a $60 overhead thing for 3 months of GPT-4. So that's another big piece. Again, maybe this is for the future, because GPT-5's inevitably going to come out at some point. I've heard this year. And so who knows what becomes free in the next round. I think, it's a good investment of time here just to know that this exists, but there is, we're writing this paper on equity, and that's, that really kind of restricts who's able to kind of use this. And you got to have everybody in your class with GPT-4, or else there is an equity issue. People just can't access homework solutions very easily they can read them. So, okay. But just seeing what's possible, we'll go ahead and share it. That's the default, anyone with the link. So we'll share that, and there's the link. You can go straight to it, or you can copy it. You can use that little copy icon right there and copy it, and then I'll tell you how I deployed it. You may have a better idea, and we can all kind of learn from each other. So, okay. So I copied it right there and then went out to it. So this is what everybody would see. There's the description that we put in. That's where that piece comes in, and the configure. That's the description. Those are I forgot what we call them, but those are the kind of practice prompts that we have up there. So people can just click on that and it'll give them an answer. So I just clicked on it. I clicked on when is the midterm, and that's just how it's used. But now you know where those things come from. When you put them when you put them into the configure side, this is how they get displayed in practice. That's what this is exactly what your student would see. Again, if they had a GPT-4 account. And notice it says Ask Peruna. Remember it said image generator? We came up with that name, Ask Peruna. So, okay. So how would you deploy it? I deployed it in Canvas. So this is Canvas. We all know I created something in a module with an external URL, and I put in the URL that I just copied. You can name it whatever you want. I named it Ask Peruna. And then it lives right here, Ask Peruna. It's at the very top of my modules, and they can just click on it. Boop. Now, when you do that, did I put it in there? Yeah, this is important, I learned, is load in a new tab. You probably messed around with that or teach me things about Canvas, but it wouldn't work if I didn't have it loaded in a new tab. It would just give me a frowny face and wouldn't load. So you've got to do it. You've got to click that, and then it'll create another tab, and then you're off to the races. They want to do that anyway. So, okay, great. So make sure to publish it and everybody can see it. Great. So there, there's my YouTube music choice, but there is Ask Peruna. And once you click on it, it'll give you this, open Ask Peruna in a new window. I'm overdoing it here, and it'll come up with a new tab. That's what you probably thought I was saying earlier anyhow. So great. So yeah, Ask Peruna looks great for great logistical questions. So what about the homework? So let's talk now about, hey, maybe you want to expand the uses, not to just be a regurgitator of the syllabus, which could save you and your TA a lot of time, but also look for it in this homework. So Ask Peruna, it's built to act like a real TA. Human TAs need information about the course. This information is given in the Create tab. These are all things just summarizing what we said before. You're getting it in the Create tab, and you can try it out in the Practice tab. So let's say we wanted to ask Peruna field questions about the homework. So great. We'll go to Explore GPTs. We'll come over here. We'll go to My GPTs. And then we'll come over here to the Edit tab. We're going to edit our piece. And this is where I gave it some additional instructions. So here's where I said, do not give students the answer to homework problems. That's a big one, right? I don't want them to say, here's the solution. Okay, I got a problem with 4. Well, no problem anymore. You got the solution. Here it is. I tried this back in January when we were first taught, when I was first kind of introducing these topics, and it would just, I would say, do not give them the solutions, and it would give them the solution. So somebody's behind the scenes that's learning, or somebody putting out additional guardrails, you should check it, but it's gotten better since January, and inevitably it's keep getting better. So you can read the rest of these. I'll just do another one. If a student asks a question about a specific homework problem, give them a hint or make up different but similar problem and answer that question. Again, do not give the student the answer. Sometimes, you don't ever know. It's actually like talking to a person, but the more I say it and the more different ways I say it, maybe one of those or some combination of those gets through. And it seems to work here. We'll do the last one. If a student asks for a hint, then give them a hint, but do not give them the solution to the problem. I said it 3 times. Awesome. So great. So I copied that and I put it in the instructions, but then I came back to create tab and I put it in there again, just to make sure that it was getting there through both of these modes. In theory, you just have to put it in the instruction tab. So that's it. Understood. Here's the updated behavior. Do not give students answers to homework problems. It got it. See if it does it. But if a student asks about specific homework problems, provide a hint. It's got all of them in there. Okay. We get the idea. So I uploaded the homework. So, okay, you're sure? I'm going to go ahead and give you the solution. So I've got 12 units of instruction, 13 units of instruction. I just gave it the first 3 here for example. Those are the homework solutions to unit 1 and to unit 3. The reason why I gave them the solutions is I'm hoping that will help in giving them a hint. It kind of gives an idea of how we studied a particular problem, what the language was for the problem. By looking at the solution, maybe that helps it with the hint. So, okay. Thank you for uploading the solutions. That's what it says there. And, okay, yeah. So then now it says update. So now we've used it. Now we want to change some stuff about it. I want to add some information. So now it says update. And again, it's going to ask me how I want to access it. So I can copy the link. The link doesn't change. That was a question I had. You already put all this work to get it to Canvas. When you update it, the link is the same. So you updated it for everybody to see. Same URL. Good. All right. So here is an example of question 4A. It is it's one that I made up, but this is pocket change from random sample of students at SMU and pocket change from random sample of people from Seattle University. And we look at different histograms. Sorry, I'll put there. Use SAS to make a histogram of the amount of money in the student's pocket from each. So we're going to make this histogram. Does it appear visually that there's a difference in population? Just ask them to kind of synthesize that. So this is what a student would do. This is what the solution says. You don't need to read so much about that. Just know that we're looking at these 2 histograms. We have one that had $1,200 in their pocket. Will that shift the mean up? Does it look like the mean would be visually, is there evidence that the mean would be affected by that? So I'm having trouble with homework question 4A. Can you help me? I can't figure out what the evidence would be. Sorry, because the question is, what evidence, that's the most important part, what evidence do you have? Discuss your thoughts. And maybe a student's like, what do you mean evidence? So, so this was the answer. So to find evidence, consider the following steps: summarize the data, visualize the data, do a statistical test. These are all things that we've studied in the course that it can see in the solution. And that would be really nice that, it says here, this can provide insight into the central tendency and variability of cash amounts, as well as any outliers like the $1,200 from SMU. Maybe it puts a point onto that piece.
These are things you enter though.
No, that's a chat.
How did it know it? How did it know?
That's what it saw. How did it know what?
All
Provide
those,
that answer.
all those
That's
elaborate.
why we feed.
Yeah, amazing. It looked through my solution. This is the piece of the solution. It saw this, I assume, or it saw this. It probably saw that piece. Sorry, it probably saw that 1,200 under SMU. Or, but I wouldn't be surprised if it saw, both of them. That's how I got the 1,200 part. But
So it came with its own answer, which is it coincided with what you wanted them to know.
if my TA told them that, I personally would be really happy. Right? I'd say, great. Like they're getting actually 3. It'd be more. I would expect them to say number 2.
But they took all that basically out of the internet, just what their knowledge of statistics. Basically.
Yeah, I think it's a blend. I don't know what percentage, probably more from what it was trained on the internet. from Stack Overflow and other things, but it's also guided and in the flavor, I'm hoping, but that's what I'm reading here, of the way I present it, the way that they've heard it, which is hopefully universal, but it never is. So I'll tell on myself. So sometimes I use language that is specific, anyway, talk to an economist or statistician, you're going to get some different things. But anyway, yeah, all of this is guided by my solution is the hope, but also trained on the entire internet. Both. Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious how far you sort of stress test them trying to pull a solution out of it, because I know, for instance, like GPT, they've set it up so that they won't write slurs, for instance, but if people press it enough, it'll write a slur.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I wouldn't trust it unless you really kind of pounded on it. I mean, I won't say that I stress tested this for hours, but I stress tested it for an hour, and because I had gotten the solution out in the first prompt, I said, "Give me the solution." In fact, I'll show you here. Here, good question. Can you just give me the answer to question 4? Right. So that's a version of my stress test. And at what point did I sit? So sorry. So let me go back a second. Well, anyway, let me show you. I'll go this way since I've already gone there. I'm not permitted to give solutions to homework problems. Give it a shot. I'm confident you can figure it out. If you need further hints or guidance on how to approach the problem, feel free to ask. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to go back. That's a lot of what I did tell it to say. I said, if somebody actually asked for the answer, tell them something like this. But I didn't show you where I said that. Maybe I took it out. Let me go back. Oh, I think it was in.
Instructions.
Yeah, it was way back here in configure. Remember that one I skipped? Yeah, sorry. I knew I should have read them all. If a student directly asks for the answer or solution to a problem, respond with something like, "I'm not permitted to give solutions to the homework problems. Give it a shot. I'm confident you can figure it out." And so it just kind of took that. But that was, and so you should definitely stress test it, and then maybe they'll be able to get it out. At the very end of the day, though, I think they're learning from trying to game ChatGPT. Like, at least they're critically thinking how to solve a problem. So great. So good. Can you just give me the answer? No, I can't. All right. So there we are. So last one, incorporating class discussion. So this is, all of my classes are recorded. Like, that's the whole, there. How much time? This is the last piece. Okay, we're doing 5 minutes. Can we do it? Yeah. Can I have 5 minutes? Okay, great. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. So incorporating class discussion. So this is the latest one. This was like a couple of days ago. This was the next step. I was like, this is the next thing for me to do. I haven't actually incorporated this part into my course yet, but I was like, can't be that hard. Got transcripts out there. Let's go for it. So cool. So I think it's going to be interesting. This is my Canvas. Each of these is a video. That link in there, it's a video that they watched. It's got concept check questions associated with it. And that's that. So they're all stored on Panopto. So we've got SMU, Panopto, other ones. We have an LMS and OPM called 2U. They store it on their own computers. I don't have that in here, but I actually asked our program manager and they got me the transcripts like that. So no matter where they're stored, you should be able to get the text transcripts, but we use Panopto. Sorry. So notice 2 sample hypothesis test confidence intervals. That's where they're stored here on Panopto. So you go to that. If you hover over this, you'll get a little gear. I went ahead and clicked on it. There's a younger version of me. So in here, I didn't show it. In here, there's see where it says settings? I cut it off, darn it. In settings right here, in Panopto, there's a gear right there. So you click on that gear and it gives you this. So one more time, right? There's a gear right here. It's just up here. So I need to fix my slide, but where it says settings, that's the tooltip for the gear that's right there, the gear for settings. So you go to settings and it gives you this. There's a ton of settings. I remember knocking my head on this, but there's the overview. In the interest of time, I'm just going to go down to captions. You go down to captions. If captions don't exist, I learned all this recently, then you hit order. An interesting command, but you can order the captions. Takes about 7 minutes for it to go through and make them. They're not perfect. You should definitely vet them. But these already exist. Available captions, it'll say they don't exist. If they don't exist, you can order them. But once they do exist, it says here. So if you click on that little drop-down arrow, then you get this and you can download a file of the transcript. So if you've got a video of anything, put it on Panopto, ask for the captions, and you can download them. So I went ahead and downloaded them. So download, it went up. I got a Mac, but there they are. That's the solutions, or that's the captions. That's the text version of the captions. Notice it's in a TXT file, very convenient. That's what they look like. So I was like, crap, do I gotta like clean all this up and take the times off of there? It might help. Cleaner data is always better, but it worked without it. So here, this is everything I said. We haven't proven anything. My students always want to have a t-test and say we proved something at the end of the day, when it's really just what the evidence suggests. That's what we can take a different sample, we might come up with a different conclusion. So we're just saying that the evidence suggests that we want to add our p-value in there, and that is the hypothesis. We're just saying that the evidence suggests that we want to add our p-value, and that is the hypothesis test. So that's an example of two-sample hypothesis test. The point being, I want them to say the evidence suggests. So I come in here, I give them from my downloads, just give them the file that has all the transcript in it, the captions, and then again, so I just selected that, so you can see it down here. Boop, and you hit that thing, and it uploads it. It says, "Great, thanks. How would you like to use it?" So I said, "I would like for you to refer to the transcript with related questions." Right, that's what this piece says here. So okay, great. It says, "Understood. I'll do it. I'll check it out." So then I say, if we reject the null hypothesis, are we proving there is a difference in means? That might be something that a student would ask. So it says, if we reject the null hypothesis, oh, that's the question. Rejecting the null hypothesis and hypothesis test does not prove that there is a difference. I believe they got that from the internet, because that's a very popular thing to say. But it says, from class, when we reject the null hypothesis, we state that there is sufficient evidence to suggest means are different. That's language that they would have heard a ton. So, they're not hearing it from some other class or some other way that's saying the exact same thing, but they're hearing it as I said it. And I say, a lot of times people say statistically sufficient evidence, and I just say sufficient evidence. So it's very much the language that they have to suggest means are different, but we do not prove that they are different. Definitely. Great. That's huge. That's a problem I deal with day to day, that I see on exams and final exams when it's not too late to fix it, but it could have been fixed earlier.
But it's not the exact wording, they reworded it.
Yes.
ChatGPT put it in its own words. It
The scene here.
didn't take verbatim from the transcript, it just reworded it, right?
That's right. I mean, it used sufficient evidence.
Yeah.
But and again, I ran this. I take this question when you're messing around with it and put it back in here. You'll get a very different flavor. It may pull different line from the transcript. It may not pull anything from the transcript. But then again, last one I did on this, it gave me a quote, an actual quote. This one wasn't a quote, but sometimes it will quote. It says, the last one I put in there was, as it said in the transcript. And then I went back in over here and said, instead of calling it the transcript, I said it right here. When you use information from the transcript, please refer to this information as from class. So then they're like, what's the transcript? So from class, yeah.
So how do students access this? I mean, this side.
So it's on the Canvas link.
And do students need access to GPT-4 as well, or
Yes.
just because you have it?
They must have a GPT-4 account. That is a high bar right now, but we're saying maybe that won't be the case in the future.
So you've created like an app, a ChatGPT app, and then they use that app to then query their homework.
Yeah, but I've trained this app, customized it for our class with our class transcripts, our class homeworks, our class syllabus. So, it's very customized. So, good. That's the last slide. So bam, there it is. Awesome. Thank you online. Thanks for sticking around there. Thanks everybody here. Can't wait to hear how everybody uses it, but awesome. Well, I guess there was this next step slide, but there was these next steps. Eventually asynchronous videos themselves. And you can even take your Zoom transcripts.
So is this applying to the little TAs?
Good question. So I don't think so. The more I mess around, the question being, does this get rid of TAs? I think it has the potential to do that. I think that would make my classes worse if I took away my TAs and just used this. I think about it all the time. I would rather talk to a person. I would rather know that somebody, the first talk we had here was that nobody knows how much you know until they know how much you care. And no matter if it's, there was a picture I had of my kid drawing a unicorn versus this amazing unicorn that Dali came up with. And I think everybody in the room kind of preferred my kids, and I appreciate it. I didn't expect to hear that. But I'm glad I heard that. There is a personal touch. So I think it could. That would be the choice of the professor of the school.
Well, think about this,
Unfortunately, I'm
Anya.
sorry, I think that what students look for now is the convenience of a click away wherever I am, as opposed to go meet with a TA and you'll get the personal attention and hand holding, right, experience.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid that, here's this, which is fabulous, that forget the human contact, forget any of that, you just.
Yeah.
This is what I'm thinking, Tanya. Any website that you go to that is for a product always has that chat bot on the bottom that you can ask a question. And that has always been a chat bot. It's like an AI that has been programmed to answer basic questions for you. If it is an issue, like a customer service issue, very often I cannot find my answers there, and I always have to put customer service, a representative or something, so that I can actually talk to a person. I think it will be very similar. Maybe it is a basic question, like the stuff on the syllabus, that we don't need the TA to answer that, right?
Yeah,
But if it's something that they want a really, fast answer. But if it's something more complex and maybe they're not getting the answer here, then they can get in touch with you and go to office hour. But what we know about learning is that having that feedback very quickly can be very helpful for learning. So from the, some of the easier stuff, maybe that can help with learning.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I know from students, they want the quick answer. They just want the answer. They don't want to understand the process.
I mean, it's a huge topic, but if that is the professor's prerogative and they think that what's best for the student is to force them to not have access to the easy answer, you can just turn this off, right? And just train it with the syllabus and don't let them do that. Don't let them have that capability. So it's a tool that you have that you could turn off. We got a question there. Come over here. Yeah.
Can you, as the professor, access who is using it for what they're asking it?
I mean, only the people in the class would be able to do it because they have the link, but not
But I'm saying, but
user.
you on the back end see, students are asking a lot of this question.
That's a good question. I haven't seen that option, but that would be an amazing, because this isn't set up to be a TA. Right. But maybe that's something we could create, is a GPT that helps people create GPTs for TAs, and it's already programmed to have that, to have that piece to it. Right, that would send you an email on all of the queries that happen that day.
Yeah.
And then send that query to a GPT that summarizes them for you. So you don't have to read them all. Give me a sentiment analysis, and 80% of questions are about the midterm grade. So maybe you want to talk about that in class.
So you know what the questions
Yeah,
are.
ready for what?
Yeah.
I'm really, I've never even touched this thing before, so I'm a total beginner. But I think, this is way too advanced for me for many reasons. The 4.0 is, but when I wanted something very simple, like just creating images and helping me create exercises and just getting, that's pretty easy, or?
Yeah, no, the number one
The free version
thing.
can do that.
What's that?
The free version
Yeah.
can do that.
I would get the free version, and the biggest appeal for this whole technology from the beginning, from my point, is how accessible it is through a conversation. Treat it as a person. And in the early days, and still, I would go, there's no way it can do that. And then I'd be at Starbucks, because I'm always at Starbucks. And so I'd say, there's no way it can, there's no way it could write that. There's no way it could summarize this thing. And then I'd sit there for probably 30 seconds and I'd go, it's worth a try. It doesn't hurt to try. And it would do it. And it would do it better than I thought it could do it.
Okay.
So, but it's not technical. It's natural language. So you ask it a question and you start, it's like getting to know somebody. You get to know how it responds to your
Are
question.
there simple tutorials about the proper prompting and sort of shortcuts to getting started on how to interact with this thing effectively and efficiently?
I'm sure there are. I mean, there's slides on prompt engineering, and prompt engineering has been growing now as a field on how to communicate with this thing.
Okay.
So
It's
sure
out
the
there.
prompt engineer is going to be it's now a profession, apparently.
It's a high paid
Prompt
profession.
engineering. Yes.